Bertino the illusionist slowly, theatrically, reached into the top hat, just as he had 1,000 times before. But this time, he felt a peculiar tug on his wrist, as he felt his arm pulled down to the elbow, then his shoulder, then his upper torso. Indeed, his whole body was being swallowed up by the hat. In an instant, he was gone. "What is this?" Bertino said aloud, his voice muffled inside the hat. Darkness surrounded him as he found himself slowly tumbling in the air and falling. Or was he floating? It was hard to tell. "Why, I'm falling into the rabbit hole, just like Alice in Wonderland." The thought was fantastic, but there it was. Above him, the oval shape of the brim was outlined against the light outside, now growing smaller and smaller. Finally, just a small dot of white, it suddenly blinked out. There was nothing but darkness. He had no sense of falling. There was no sound or wind or sensation of any kind. How deep is the rabbit hole, he wondered. He stretched out his arms and legs to feel for any surface he could touch. Without any external stimuli, his thoughts turned inward. He thought back to his performance. The audience had been light tonight. His routine had been reasonably successful, but the crowd had been getting restless, wanting more. When he announced, "No magician worth his salt can perform his act without pulling at least one rabbit out of his hat," that was when he realized he was being sucked whole into his hat. An audible gasp from the audience had been the last sound he had heard. And now this. But this is no illusion, he thought. This is no cheap parlor trick, no sleight of hand to fool the eye. No, this is real magic. On he fell, or floated in darkness between the worlds of illusion and reality. As Bertino reveled in this inexplicable place where he drifted aimlessly, his surroundings lightened. He could sense his body emerging from the darkness onto a surface of verdant green. He found himself lying in a lush meadow. He could smell the scent of grass and wildflowers. Above, he saw the azure blue of a daytime sky and fleecy clouds. There was a freshening breeze and the sounds of birdsong in the air. Suddenly, he sensed a small motion at his side, and there he found Herr Dini, the rabbit in his magic act, who sat quietly as he stroked his fur. He had never felt such peace and serenity. So, this is where the rabbit hole ends, Bertino thought. This is the land of magic. As the last of the audience dispersed, the ambulance team packed up their gear on stage, waiting for permission to take the body away. The paramedic looked down at the pallid face of the old magician, but was struck most by his lips, which unmistakably bore a placid and tranquil smile.